Hey there cherries, it's Jessica here from A Cherry on Top, and today I will be using the Pocket Traveler's Notebook die from Sizzix. This is a really cool die for making your own traveler's notebooks, and because it is a big die, you can use it with foam or with leather, which would make a really cool notebook. I'm using it with this opulent cardstock from Sizzix, and I am doubling it so it's even thicker. This opulent cardstock is really beautiful paper. It comes in a few different colors. First I used the gold, and there's like glitter paper and matte, brushed metal, pearl, and mirror paper. And now I'm using the gray colors. So how this die works is you cut out the same thing twice and then we'll glue them together, and that's what makes the cover. There are a few other elements to this die, like there's a little note card holder, and there's a pen holder, and then there's like a little tag that I turned into a paper clip. So here's the pen holder. You can just round it and then glue it, and that's how that'll work. And now I'm going to repeat this 3 more times. So the second time will be for the other half of my notebook, and then because I'm doubling it so it's twice as thick, I'll put it through with 2 more pieces of paper. Doing this actually works perfectly with the size of the opulent cardstock. It's 8 by 11.5 papers, so I could just fold them in half and then cut them and send them through, and it uses the whole sheet for this die. To get out these little holes, I'm using some of the tweezers from Sizzix, and these really came in handy. The holes were a little bit tougher to go through on this glitter paper, just because the glitter was like glued together more, so I had to go over a few more times. And now I'm using some express glue from Sizzix to glue together 2 of my outside pages, and I am lining up the center holes. After I lined it up, I let it dry, and then I started gluing on the back sides. So I'm still gluing 1 sheet on at a time, and I'm making sure my whole page is covered really nicely with glue. And then again, I will line up the holes. The holes are the most important part to line up because that's what we'll be putting the elastic through, and if it's a little bit off, you'll just have a bit tougher time. And then I'm folding them right away so the holes don't bend or move as like if it dries. And also when it's still a little bit wet from the glue, it's easier to bend. And now I'm gluing on my other side. And again, I'm gluing it down and then folding it right away while it's still wet to get a nice crease. And now I'm going to set that aside and let it dry under some weights, and I will glue together my little pen holder. And for this I am double-siding it again and having the glittery side be on the outside. And this is another thing, I recommend rolling it into the shape while it's still a little bit wet. And here's a tip I found after I tried holding this for a while, a couple times, and it kept popping back up, is you can use the Sizzix tweezers, and because they're reverse tweezers, they kind of work like a little clamp. So you can just clamp it onto that, like, and put it right through where the pen would go, and it'll hold it until it dries. And now I'm going to work on the card holders. I am going back and forth every other with the glittery and then the metal cardstock. And I'm only gluing around the edges and then the bottom side so that I can still tuck things into it. And then I am centering it and gluing it down. For this, I tried to work really quickly because I didn't want to completely press it down until I had it all measured out. So I glued the rest of them really quick and then made sure they were all even. And here's where you can see how I used the tweezers to clamp the pen holder while it was drying. Now it's time to add in the elastic. I used some black round cord elastic from Singer. So start stringing it by being on the outside and coming in, and then we'll just snake it up and back down to create the elastic strips. So there are 3 holes at the top and at the bottom, and the center hole is slightly bigger because we will be going through that hole twice. If you're struggling with putting the elastic into the hole, I was using the tweezers to kind of shove it in. It could also just be you need to cut off the end of the elastic. Like with mine, it started to get a little bit frayed, so I just ended up cutting it off. Now I will go back into the center holes. I'll do this on both the top and the bottom. This is also where you can tighten up your strings a bit so you don't have any extra string. And now I'm going back into the center, and these can meet in the center here. So from here you can either first do a double knot and tie them together, or you can do like I'm doing here, and I'm just going right into making the outside loop, which is still connected to the same string. So I went out of that center hole, and then I'll measure how far I need to stretch around the outside of the journal. I don't make it super tight. I have it so it's just enough to comfortably sit around the journal without stretching out the elastic too much. And after it's the right length, you can double knot it. And now the outside of your notebook is finished. It's time to add in some inserts. If you don't want to buy inserts, you can make your own. So here I'm starting with some mixed media paper, and I am cutting it to 5.5 inches, which is the length of this notebook, and then I will fold them in half and cut it to 3.25 inches, which is the width. I stacked these so I had 4 inside pages and 1 sheet of the opulent cardstock as the cover of each of these notebooks. Once you have them all cut to size, you can stack them together in a nice little booklet, and then we'll work on the cover for this insert. For the cover, I'm still making it 5.5 inches in height and 3.25 in width. If it's easier for you to cut the width first, you would cut it to 6.5 inches. But I liked to score it and then cut off the extra. And now you can stack them all together and staple it twice in the center. And that is it for the insert. You can just find the center of the insert where the staples are and put it into one of the elastics. And this is how I used those extra little squares that were cut out of the die. I put it on a paper clip and then I double-sided it So one side of the paper clip was still sticking out, so I could still open it and use it as a paper clip. And here's how you can see how it works. Just clips right on. So you can add words onto this or a little sticker or something, but it turned out really cute. It's a fun, easy way to make your own traveler's notebooks. Thanks for watching.